Come and sit by my side if you're lonely. Close your eyes, drink some tea together. Breathing in, breathing out, smile and come. You will feel that our life is so true. Come and sit by my side when you're tired. Close your eyes, put your hand on your heart. Breathing in, breathing out, smile and come. You will feel that our life is so true. Come and sit by my side if you cry. Close your eyes, put your hands on the earth. Breathing in, breathing out, smile and come. You will feel that the life is happy. Come and sit by my side if you're lonely. Close your eyes, drink some tea together. Breathing in, breathing out, smile and come. You will feel that our life is so true. Come and sit by my side when you're tired. Close your eyes, put your hand on your heart. Breathing in, breathing out, smile and come. You will feel that our life is so true. Come and sit by my side if you cry. Close your eyes, put your hands on the earth. Breathing in, breathing out, smile and come. You will feel that the life is happy.
There's a four foundations of mindfulness. It means that there are four kinds of objects of looking deeply. To meditate means to have the time to practice looking deeply. And looking deeply at what? What is the object of your mindfulness? What is the object of your concentration? And what is the object of your mind? And we know very well that the first realm, the first object of meditation is body. And there is a sutra, a scriptures on the contemplation of the body in the body. So the body is the first object of meditation. You have to meditate on your body. You look deeply into your body. And in the sutras of mindful breathing, you have these four exercises in order to handle your body. And the first, to be with your in breath and with your out breath. You approach your body first by contacting your in breath and your out breath. The best way in order to approach your body is through the way of your in breath and out breath. With mindful breathing in and out, you connect yourself with your body. And the practice is pleasant also. The second exercise is to follow your in breath and out breath all the way through. In that way, you increase your mindfulness and your concentration. And that is also pleasant. Just to sit and enjoy breathing in and follow your in breath from the beginning to the end can bring a lot of joy and of healing. And the third is to be aware of your body, to be with your body. Connecting with your body. Remember that you have a body. Bring your mind home to your body in order for you to be established in the here and the now, for you to have a chance to live your life. And you have an opportunity to live each moment of your life deeply. You are not pulled away by the thinking about the past, by the thinking about the future, and so on. And all these exercises are very simple, but the effect is enormous. Because if you are in touch with your body, you are in touch with life, the cosmos, and planet Earth. And the fourth exercise, as we already know, that is to release the tension in your body, to calm your body. And there are more instructions given by the Buddha, so that we can look deeply into our body, and restore wellness in your body. There is an exercise proposed by the Buddha. He used the example of a farmer going up to the cellar and bring down a bag of seeds. And he opened one end of the bag, and allow all kinds of seeds to flow on the floor. And with eyes still in good condition, he recognized every sort of seeds. And he recognized this is the mung bean seeds, this is kidney bean seeds, this is corn seeds, and so on. So the same thing is true with the practitioner. In a lying position or a seated position, the practitioner passes in review of all elements in his body, beginning with his head down. Breathing in, I'm aware of my brain. Breathing out, I smile to my brain. Breathing in, I'm aware of my eyes. Breathing out, I smile to my eyes. And you go down, you go down. Breathing in, I am aware of my heart. Breathing out, I smile to my heart. You pass in review all parts of your body. Like that farmer, he recognizes every kind of seeds that he sees on the floor. So this is scanning your body, with not with the X-ray, but with the ray of mindfulness. You recognize every part of your body, and you smile to it. That is the first object of meditation, contemplation of the body in the body. The second realm, the second object of meditation is your feeling. And there are feelings that have roots from the body. And there are feelings that have roots in your perception. Your wrong perception may bring a lot of painful feeling to you. So in the realm of feeling, the Buddha proposed the fifth exercise, which is how to generate a pleasant feeling, a feeling of joy. Generating joy. The sixth, generating happiness. And the seventh, we already know, to be there with a feeling of pain. Breathing in, I'm aware of the painful feeling in me. Breathing out, I embrace the painful feeling in me. And that is what a good practitioner should do. A good practitioner does not seek to run away from the pain in him or in her. A good practitioner knows how to generate the energy of mindfulness and concentration in order to recognize the pain and embrace tenderly with compassion. Why? Because by doing so, she can calm down the pain. And that is the eighth exercise. Aware of the painful feeling and calming the painful feeling. It's very pragmatic, it's very practical. And then the third domain of looking deeply, the third object of looking deeply is the mind. It's your mind. The practitioner look into his mind. His mind is the object of meditation. The scientists, they like to look at nature. And mind here is a kind of river. And as a river is made of drops of water. So the mind is something that is made of the so-called mental formations. And in my tradition, we speak of 51 mental formation. And as a novice, I have to memorize the 51 mental formations. And when a mental formation arises, I should be able to recognize it and call it by its true name, whether it is anger or fear. When anger comes up, I have to say, this is anger. breathing in, I know the mental formation called anger is there. Breathing out, I'm going to take good care of the mental formation called anger. So you have to memorize the names. You have to recognize each mental formation as it arises. So to meditate is to sit on the bank of the river of the mind and to recognize every mental formation that arises. That is because the mind is a succession of mental formations. Formation is a technical term in Buddhism. Every compounded thing is a formation, like a flower. A flower is a formation. A flower is made only of non-flower elements. The sunshine, the cloud, the earth, and so on. So many things have come together in order for the flower to manifest. So the flower is a formation. It is a physical formation. My hand is a formation. That is a physiological formation. And your anger is a mental formation. So to meditate on the mind means you sit on the bank of that river and observe the arising, and the going away of each mental formation. First of all, this is the practice of simple recognition. You should not try to grasp the mental formation, or you should not try to get away from the mental formation. You stay neutral, and your work is to just recognize it and call it by its true name. So there are wholesome mental formations like loving kindness, compassion, equanimity, non-discrimination, joy, and so on. And there are unwholesome mental formations like fear, anger, hate, despair. And if one mental formation arises, the meditator should be able to recognize it. And if it is needed, and then we go look deeply into it and try to take good care of it. And later on, we shall be able to transform it the way we want. And in the sutra on mindful breathing, the Buddha proposed 4 exercises only. And the first exercise number 9, is to be aware of the mental formation that just arises. When fear arises, we should be there to recognize it and to call it by its true name. And if it's needed, and then we should know how to handle our fear. Not trying to escape. Not trying to cover up. So you are aware of all mental formations when every time they show up. The 10th is to give a chance to wholesome mental formation to arise. In the text, it is said to be the practice of gladdening the mind. Gladdening the mind. We have good mental formations in us. We have, before a mental formation manifests, it is in us in the form of a seed. Every one of us has a seed of anger inside. But when the seed of anger has not manifested as energy, well, we can smile, we can have a good time. But that doesn't mean that the seed of anger is not in us. And when it has not manifested, it is there in the depth of our mind as a seed. Bija, that is the Sanskrit word. And in Chinese, we have the word chung tử. So all the 51 mental formations have their seed in our consciousness, in our store consciousness. And every time an unwholesome seed is watered, like the seed of fear and anger, it manifests as a mental formation, and it makes us suffer. When you read newspaper, when you watch television, when you have a conversation, these things may touch off anger and fear and sorrow and despair. So we live in such a way. We organize our life in such a way that do not give these seeds, these negative seeds, a chance to come up as a mental formation. So the practitioner knows how not to water the unwholesome seed. The practitioners know how to touch the good seeds so that they have a more chance to manifest. Because in Buddhism, we speak of consciousness as having at least 2 layers. The upper layer is called mind consciousness. And the lower layer is called store consciousness. And all these mental formations, before they manifest up on the level of mind consciousness, they stay down here in the form of seeds. So if we live in a bad environment, the bad seeds have more chance to come up as mental formation. And that is why it's very important that we choose a kind of environment that will not turn on the bad seeds in us. When you come to a retreat like this is a good environment, because this environment helps the good seeds in us to be touched and manifest as wholesome mental formations. Mindfulness is a wholesome mental formation. Concentration is a wholesome mental formation. Loving kindness is a good one. Compassion is another good one. Forgiveness is another good one. Non-discrimination is a good one. So we should put ourselves in a kind of environment that help turn on these seeds. And that requires some skillfulness from the part of the practitioner. So we organize an environment for us, for our friends, for our family to live, so that the landscape of mind consciousness is always a landscape of joy and happiness. And that is why we do not water the negative seeds. The good practice is to water the good seeds so that they have a chance to come up here. And that is a practice called right diligence. That can bring happiness very quickly to us and to our friends, to our family. So the 10th exercise is to gladden the mind. That means to help the good seeds down here to have plenty of chance to come up. And the 11th exercise is to nourish concentration. Concentration, the mind. concentration the mind. And the 12 is to liberate the mind. Suppose a seed of fear or of anger has come up. Instead of trying to suppress it or ignore it, the practitioner knows how to recognize it, and in the realm of feelings, the practitioner knows how to calm it down. But now, the practitioner knows how to go further, not only to calm it down, but to know how to look deeply and how to transform it. And the way is to concentrate on that and look deeply into that. And we know that mindfulness brings about concentration. And when mindfulness and concentration are powerful, we will have a breakthrough. And we have the insight. Mindfulness, concentration, insight are the three kinds of energies generated by the yogi that has the power to liberate. And then the last domain of meditation, the last object of meditation is called object of mind. Mind and object of mind. In science, people call it nature. But in Buddhism, that is only the object of your mind. Nature, even that is a constellation, that is a galaxy, it is an object of your mind. It is not something independent from the object of your mind. This is a very important in Buddhism. What you see, what you perceive is the object of your mind. In science, many scientists still believe that consciousness and the object of consciousness are two distinctive things. That there is a consciousness, the subjective mind is in here, and is reaching out in order to understand nature, the world of reality outside. In Buddhism, that is the greatest mistake. That is called in Buddhism the dual grasping, double grasping, la double prise. And I think if scientists listen to this, they may be inspired and they may find another way to approach the ultimate reality. In the teaching of Buddhism, a perception is made of at least two parts. This is we try to analyze. This is a way of speaking. There is a perceiver. And there is the object of perception called the perceived. The technical term is the subject and the object. And this part, this is consciousness. And consciousness is made of subject and object. This is called tướng phần. This is called kiến phần. The Sanskrit word is nimitta bhaga. And daksana bhaga. Subject and object. We know that in the tradition of phenomenology, it is stated very clearly. La conscience, c'est toujours la conscience de quelque chose. Jamais la conscience toute seule. Consciousness is always consciousness of something. So if you believe that consciousness is something that can exist separately from the object of consciousness, you are wrong. And these two parts of mind, they lean on each other in order to manifest. It is like this marker. When we hold it like this, we distinguish left and right. And we believe that the left is not the right. The left can be taken out of the right, and the right can be taken out of the left. And sometimes we want to remove the left or remove the right. Maybe we should use we like to use a knife in order to eliminate the right. But as soon as you finish cutting, this spot becomes the right. Because if the left is there, the right is always there. You cannot take the right out of the left. You cannot take the subject out of the object. You cannot take the object out of subject. They lean to each other in order to manifest. And in Buddhism, we speak of sahabu. Bu means to be, to arise. And saha means together. Subject and object, they lean on each other in order to manifest at the same time. And if you believe that the subject can exist separately as consciousness, and nature, the object of your consciousness, can exist separately from your consciousness, you are caught in what Buddhism calls the double grasping. And that is the greatest obstacle for understanding the world. And that practice is called in Buddhism the path, the middle path. The middle path is the path transcending all pairs of opposite, including birth and death, being and non-being, matter and mind, subject and object. And that is why in Buddhism, a practitioner should know that there is mind and there is object of mind. Reality, the ultimate reality, is also object of mind. When the mind is deluded and the object of it is the false image of reality, when the mind is clear, free, and the ultimate reality reveals itself. So our understanding of reality depends on the mind and what kind of mind you are using. And the question is how the scientists prepare their mind. But in Buddhism, preparing the mind, purifying the mind, freeing the mind is the main job. Because when the mind is clear, is free, and then reality can manifest itself. You don't have to go and look for it. And the Buddha also offer 4 kinds of exercise in order to help you look into the object of mind. The 13th exercise is the contemplation of impermanence. That is one of the practice of concentration. But many of us only have an idea of impermanence, a notion of impermanence, an intellectual understanding of impermanence. That is not impermanence. Because even if you agree that everything is impermanent, you still behave as if they are permanent. So impermanent here is an insight and not a notion. A notion does not have the power to liberate you, only an insight. The notion can be helpful, but you have to be careful not to be caught in notions. Even the notion of impermanence, the notion of no self, the notion of interbeing. These notions are skillful means in order to help you. You are given some instrument in order to work the land to grow vegetable. And that instrument, you should not worship it. You should not put into an altar and worship. You should make good use of that instrument in order to work the land, in order to produce vegetable. So the teaching is given not for you to worship, not for you to say, I have the truth. I monopolize the truth. And that truth is called interbeing, impermanence, non-self. It does not help. So the practice of samadhi, concentration, is to produce not a thought, not a notion, but an insight. It is the insight of impermanence that helps liberate you and not the notion of impermanence. You know that your beloved one is impermanent, but you still have the feeling that she will be there for 1,000 years. And if you know that she is impermanent, you will do anything that can make her happy right here and right now. Maybe tomorrow is too late. So the idea of impermanence does not help. Only the insight of impermanence can help liberate us. Suppose you are angry at your beloved one. She just said something that makes you unhappy. She just did something that makes you unhappy. And with the anger in you, you want to suffer less. You want to say something in order to make her suffer. And you believe that doing that, you will suffer less. But according to this, we can do otherwise. When you get angry of your beloved one, and when you are about to say something to make her suffer, you remember you are a practitioner. You close your eyes, you breathe in, and you visualize your beloved one 300 years from now. What my beloved one will become in 300 years. And you don't need a lot of time. A few seconds can bring you the insight of impermanence. And you can realize right away that to get angry at each other like this is stupid. What I will become in 300 years, what she will become in 300 years. That's not wise to make each other suffer like that. And maybe you need only one in-breath in order to touch the nature of impermanence in you and in her. And that is insight, and not what you talk about. And when you breathe out, you open your eyes. And the only thing you want to do now is to take her into your arm and practice mindful breathing. Breathing in, I know that she is still alive. Breathing out, I am so happy. The transformation can be very quick with concentration. Concentration is samadhi. So impermanence should not be a notion, an idea. It should be a practice, should be a concentration. And the first concentration that the Buddha recommends in the Sutra of Mindful Breathing is the concentration of impermanence. The next exercise is the concentration on non-craving. There are objects of our craving, like fame, like success, like power, like money, like sex. And we believe that happiness will not be possible unless we get that. So we invest our whole body, our whole mind, running after the object of our craving. And many of us suffer very deeply in the process of running after the objects of our craving. But if we look deeply into the object of our craving, we see a lot of dangers into it. Many people have destroyed their body and their mind just trying to run after these four objects of craving. And many people have died, even committed suicide when they have plenty of these kind of things. They are not happy with them. So looking into the object of your craving deeply, you can see the danger in it. And once you see the danger of the object of craving, it does not attract you anymore. You know that you can be perfectly happy without it. If the fish realize that in the bait there is a hook, then she never bites. If she bites and then she hook up and she will die. So if looking deeply into the nature of our craving, we can see a lot of dangers. And if you see the danger in the object of your craving, you stop, you are free. And the 15th is contemplation on nirvana. Nirvana is the ultimate reality. It's the nature or our true nature of no birth, no death, no being, no non-being, no coming, no going, no sameness, no otherness. All kind of distinction, all kind of discrimination are removed, including the notion of subject and object, matter and mind as two distinctive reality. All these discriminations are removed. And when you touch nirvana, you are free. Free of all afflictions, including fear and craving and despair. And where can you find nirvana? And the answer is very clear. In the object of your perceptions. There are two levels of reality. There are two dimensions to reality. And in Buddhism, we speak of the ultimate reality, the ultimate dimension, and the historical dimension. บางโมง is the ultimate dimension of reality, and that is nirvana. And the other is tích môn, the historical dimension of reality. In the historical dimension of reality, you can see the beginning and ending. You can see birth and death. You can see time and space as two separate entity. You can see the subject and the object. In the historical dimension, we need a birth certificate, proving that you are born on such an hour, a date, from such and such parents. If you don't have that, you don't have an identity card. You cannot do anything. You do not have a job. You cannot draw the money from a bank. You need an identity. You need a date of birth, and so on. And so in the historical dimension, there is birth and death. You are there or you are not there. So notions of being and non-being, birth and death, coming and going, these belong to the realm of relative truth, conventional truth. But looking deeply into the world of phenomena in the historical dimension, and this is the practice of meditation. The other day we spoke about looking deeply at a cloud. A cloud is in the historical dimension because yesterday it was up there, today it's no longer there. And we can speak about the birth of a cloud and the death of a cloud. So birth, death, being there, not being there, all these notions belong to the realm, to the dimension called historical dimension. But when we look deeply into the nature of a cloud, we see that the nature of the cloud is the nature of no birth and no death. There is no beginning, no ending. It is impossible for a cloud to die. It can become snow or tea or rain or ice. But it is impossible for a cloud to pass from the realm of being into non-being. So touching the historical dimension deeply enough, we touch the ultimate dimension. We don't have to go anywhere for the ultimate dimension. The ultimate dimension is right in the historical dimension. In the historical dimension, there is still discrimination between birth and death, this and the other. But when we go deeper, all these notions just disappear, and we touch the nature of no birth, no death, no coming, no going, no being, no non-being. We are free from all notions. And that is nirvana. That is the state of coolness. Nirvana, a philosophical term, a spiritual term, has come from the daily talking of the peasants. In the morning, when you make breakfast for your husband, you should gather some sticks in order to make fire. And the fire of yesterday may have died completely. So when you touch the ash, it's cool. It does not burn your finger anymore. So nirvana is state of coolness, not burning. And the Buddha has used the word nirvana to talk about the state of no afflictions. Because the afflictions like anger, fear, despair, they are burning us. They make us suffer. When we are able to remove all these afflictions, we are in a state of cooling. Nirvana is cooling. They're cooling down. And because afflictions like fear, anger, despair, they are burning, that is why we suffer. And why we have these afflictions? Because of our way of looking at the world. Because we have notions of fear, or we have notions of birth and death, being and non-being. Me and you as separate entities. We use our mind of discrimination. We are caught by many notions, including the notion of subject and object, matter and mind. And that is why affliction arises. Once we are able to remove all these notions, including birth and death, being and non-being, and then all these afflictions have no ground in order to be born, and we are free. So nirvana is freedom, and first is freedom of notions. And in order to reach nirvana, you cannot use your mind of discrimination. And modern science begin to see that. There are scientists who say that quantum mechanics is dealing with nature as she is. And that is absurd. She is absurd. Quantum mechanics is dealing with nature as she is. It means absurd. Because we thought that it is here, but it can be both here and there. We thought that it is away, but it may be something else like a particle. Why? Because we are using a kind of mind that cannot touch the ultimate. In classical science, we have notions and ways. We believe that reality can be independent from our mind. Whether we are there or not, nature is the same. But in modern physics, we don't think like that anymore. We think reality is in function of mind. Mind is linked to reality in such a way that you cannot take mind out of reality, and you cannot take reality out of mind. And modern science begin to see that object and subject, they cannot be taken apart. They inter-are. Without this, the other one cannot be. So the mind that we use in the historical dimension is called, in Buddhism, the discriminative mind. The Chinese word is 分别trí. It's good for classical science, but it's no longer good enough for modern science. The Sanskrit word is vikalpa. Jnana. Jnana means wisdom, and vikalpa means discrimination. The mind of discrimination. We have to distinguish between birth and death. Birth and death are two different things. We have to distinguish between left and right. They are different things. A rose is a rose. A rose cannot be a cloud. A rose cannot be the sunshine. And our discriminative mind is based on the principle of identity. That A can only be A. A rose can only be a rose. A rose cannot be something else. A human being can only be a human being. A human being cannot be a plant or an animal or a mineral. And that is the mind of discrimination. And with that mind of discrimination, we cannot touch the ultimate dimension. And that modern science begin to see, to feel it. And that is why, using the mind of discrimination, they find nature absurd. And that is why, in Buddhism, you should use another kind of mind in order to approach the ultimate dimension, in order to touch nirvana. But the ultimate dimension is not something apart from the daily life. What we touch in the historical dimension contains nirvana. And if we touch them deeply enough with the mind of non-discrimination, and then nirvana is available in the here and the now. You don't have to go and look for it elsewhere. And that kind of mind is called the nirvikalpa. The mind of non-discrimination. And when you train yourself to use that kind of mind, you don't suffer anymore because you can touch the ultimate dimension. You touch the reality as it is and no longer a mental construction. So the mathematics that we are having are still based on the mind of discrimination. The logic that we are still using is a logic based on the principle of identity. A can only be A and cannot be B. That's our logic, that's our mathematics, still based on the principle of identity. But the Buddha proposed another way, is to look deeply. When you look into this sheet of paper with the mind of a meditator, what you see? You see that a sheet of paper is made of non-paper elements. You can see a tree inside. You can see the forest inside. You can see the rain on the forest. You can see the sunshine on the forest. You can see the factory that produce the sheet of paper. And you see that the paper is made only of non-paper elements. And if you remove all these non-paper elements, there is no paper left. So A is not exactly A. A is B. If you have not seen the trees, the sunshine, the factory, the worker, you have not seen the paper. So the new logic proposed by the Buddha is a kind of dialectics. A is not A. You have to see that. Paper is not paper. That is why it can be a paper. If you have not seen the non-paper elements in the paper, you have not seen the sheet of paper. A sheet of paper is made only of non-paper elements. The sheet of paper is full of the cosmos, but empty of a separate existence. And this is called a conventional designation, paper. conventional designation. The object of our meditation, we should look deeply into it and see the true nature of it. It is a formation. It does not have a substantial core of existence. It is full of everything else, but it is empty of a separate self. There is no separate existence. And that is why everything is a conventional designation without any real substance in it. So A, what you call A, is made only of non-A elements, including the Buddha. The Buddha is made of non-Buddha elements. And if you have not seen it, you have not seen the Buddha. And Buddhism is made of non-Buddhist elements. And when you see that, you are free from Buddhism. You are free from the Buddha. Because you know that the Buddha is also a conventional designation. And Buddhism is also a conventional designation. And that is why the middle way dialectics is that A is not A. That is why it can be A. And the same thing should be applied to subatomic particles. Suppose we spoke about an electron. And according to this principle, an electron is made only of non-electron elements. And if you have not seen that, you have not seen the electron. How does a scientist observe an electron? They try to find out the so-called neck mass of the electron. And they try to find out what they call the self-energy of an electron in terms of the relationship between electron and its own electromagnetic field. Without that field, its field of electromagnetic field, an electron is not an electron. So the same thing is true with a proton and a neutron. They are not separate objects. You have to see them as a formation. A neutron is made of non-neutron element. A proton is also made a non-proton element. And it has a relationship with everything else in the cosmos. And that is why it's very important to see that A is not A. It's made of non-A elements. Everything, not just a flower or a sheet of paper, but your atom, your electron, and so on. And unless we see that A is just a formation made of elements that can give it a sign, you have not really seen it. And that is why it's very important to follow this kind of dialectics. Dialectics in Buddhism we call the middle way dialectics. It helps us to transcend the notion of this and that, the notion of subject and object, the notion of being and non-being, and so on. So the kind of concentration that we practice in Buddhism is the concentration that help us remove all notions and all discrimination. All discrimination. And when discrimination is removed, separation is no longer there, and there is no more suffering. If he suffers because of discrimination, and first of all, the discrimination between being and non-being, and birth and death. Someone who tries to kill himself, that person does not like being. He doesn't like to be anymore. And being becomes a burden. And he aspires to non-being. Because he believes that belonging to the realm of non-being is much easier. So the mind of someone who is contemplating suicide is to aspire for non-being, because being has become too heavy for him or for her. And there are those of us who are looking for being, who are very afraid of non-being. And that kind of longing, that kind of suffering is based on the notion of being and non-being. And reality, according to the Buddhist insight, is free from both notions. Reality cannot be described as being or non-being. So when we ask the question, why is there something rather than nothing? That is a philosophical question, but that is also a scientific question. But in both cases, the philosopher and the scientist are still caught in the notion of being and not being. And using the mind of discrimination, we go around, we find things are absurd unless we have another instrument, the mind of non-discrimination, that can help us to transcend all kinds of notions, and then it will be possible for us to touch nirvana, to touch the realm of no birth and no death, and to have true freedom. And the last exercise on mindful breathing is to let go. You let go of all notions. You let go of your notion of being and non-being. You let go of your notion as matter and mind as two distinctive things. You let go of your mind, your notion of subject as a separate element, and so on. And the instruction is very clear.